Hello and welcome to Orderly Ape. This video is about how to set up and run Orderly Ape, which is a distributed, scalable load testing platform that uses K6 on your own servers. So if you're unfamiliar with us, you can visit our website at orderlyape.com. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to GitHub. This project is by Review Signal, so go to github.com/review signal, and the project is Orderly Ape. When you get here, there's some installation instructions. So we were generously sponsored by DigitalOcean for an open source grant, so we built a lot of this on DigitalOcean first, and so the instructions are DigitalOcean specific right now, but it should work on any Kubernetes cluster eventually, hopefully very soon. So the prerequisites you need to run Orderly Ape are kubectl, Helm, Helmfile, and doctl. That's the DigitalOcean component right there. So the first thing I want to do is skip step 1 and 2 because I want to start creating our Kubernetes cluster because it's going to take a few minutes possibly. So you go to DigitalOcean, log into your account, go to the Manage Kubernetes, create a new cluster, pick a location. Let's do, where should we do today? Let's do one in Bangalore. Okay, so we picked Bangalore. Everything we pretty much leave the same, except we set the node pool to auto scale. 3 to 5 is fine for us. We want 3 because there's 3 components to Orderly Ape that are going to be running here. This is the main cluster. We're going to have our web app that you're going to interact with, Grafana to see the results, and influxdb to see or to store all the test results. And then the scaling is when we run tests, we want to spin up a node to run the tests on so it doesn't impact anything else. So that's what the auto scale is for. You can set that to whatever you need. We don't need any of this stuff. We can name this Bangalore. So get that creating. All right. So now if we go back to the instructions, so these are the prerequisites. To get them, you need to install them on your local development environment. That's going to vary based on what you use. But for example, if you have Homebrew, which works on Mac and Linux, you would just copy this command, brew install those 4 files. So if I go here and I put them in, I'm on Windows, but with WSL we can do, or on Ubuntu right now. So running that command. And I've already got everything installed, so we're good. Then you would initialize Helm. So you would just run that command if you've never done it before, initialize it. doctl also probably needs to be initialized if you've never done that. If you click here, the second step after creating it, it's connecting. It has information about doctl. It's got instructions for whatever operating system you choose. Just one thing to note is you're going to have to create a personal access token to make that work. So you click down here on the API, create a new token. It needs full access. You can name it whatever you want, set the expiry, but you just need to have that token so that the doctl can connect us properly. So we've done our prerequisites. We have started creating our cluster. Then we need to run this command. That command is coming from right here. It's the connection command. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to run it locally here. Okay, that looks like it worked. And then we have to verify that it worked. So I'm going to copy that. That's going to get the nodes we just created. It's probably a solid chance they're not ready yet. No resources found. Yeah. So you can see it's spinning. It doesn't have anything spun up yet. So we are waiting. This is pending. So while our cluster is getting set up, let's go back to the instructions and take a look what's coming up. So what we're going to need to do next is copy and configure the values YAML that is found in this repo in the deploy all-in-one. And we need to fill out the configuration parameters and set admin credentials. So if we click on this, we are given, this is the values.yaml file. I'm going to just, so you can just copy the whole thing. This DigitalOcean bit for MySQL, I think, is outdated now. We got off of MySQL and are just using SQLite to remove that dependency and make it a little easier to run anywhere. So you would just copy this file, put it in a text editor. I've already got a copy here. Make sure you uncomment it. And then you set the parameters here. So these host names need to be real because we need DNS and certificates to get issued to them. The passwords, I just put in random junk, the same thing for all three. Probably you should use something different, but I'm destroying this cluster when we're done. I'm just going to put the same thing to make life easier. And this is just to bootstrap and get things going. So once you've configured these values and you save that in the folder that you are working in, so I'm in that demo folder right now, you would deploy the app with this command here. This is just a one-liner that grabs our Helm file and runs Helm file sync, which just deploys the entire application. Let's just take a look. It is still spinning up. Any progress happening? Oh, it says everything's ready. Maybe this is just being slow. Just refresh. Oh, yeah, nothing's spinning. It's all good. Okay, great. So we copy our install. We've saved our values file. Let's just make sure it's right there. Yep, our values file is there. I am going to install that. So what it is doing right now is going through that Helm file and installing this entire application. So if you want to look real quick, it's the deploy all-in-one, this Helm file. So you can see it's installing the Orderly Ape app, the cert manager, ingress, nginx, grafana, influxdb. And it connects them all together nicely and does everything it needs to do so that you can start running it if everything goes well. So yeah, you can take a look at that. If you're familiar with Helm and Kubernetes, this might make sense to you. If not, you probably don't really need to take a very long look at it. And hopefully it works without you needing to. So, while it is running that, it's going to take a few minutes. We're going to just look ahead at the next steps. So, the next step, once this is installed, we're going to get the service IP. So we need to know what the IP address of our cluster is, and then we're going to have to do the DNS configuration for it. So I have Cloudflare open here. I use Cloudflare right now to manage this DNS, and we're going to do A records. And I have a short time to live, 1 minute, so that this is not the first, second, or even third cluster that I have stood up and burned down trying to get this working. So it's been fun. All right. And then we would have to make sure that we get the certificates, and then our application will be ready. So, still issuing, still taking a little bit of time. So there's a few little troubleshooting notes available here. If you're having any trouble, make sure you've got all the prerequisites. If you don't have them installed, this is not going to go well for you. Make sure you are connecting to Kubernetes and that everything is ready. And the biggest place that errors can happen is when you do this Helm file sync. That's the one-liner that's supposed to install everything. I mean, we've tested it a bunch of times. This is an alpha. Things sometimes break. If it errors out in this step that we're running right now, please share that error with us either on GitHub as an issue or join our Discord. And I will probably add a link to the Discord on the repo itself and the website. But let us know if there's any trouble. And if you're getting any invalid certificate warnings, just wait. So I've created a bunch of these clusters. The longest so far has taken, I think, just over 20 minutes to issue a certificate. I'm not sure why it takes that long sometimes, but it does. But this command will help you watch to see when it gets issued. From my understanding, influxdb absolutely needs a certificate or things will break. The other two, Grafana doesn't care. The web app will flash that warning that it's not secure, but you can just still access it with a self-signed certificate. It won't physically break anything. Okay, so we're making some progress. I think we're almost to the end here, and we're done. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get the IP address. Paste that in here. We're looking for that external IP. That's what we need to connect to our DNS so the rest of the world, including us, can access it. So I'm going to just edit that because I'm just reusing the same subdomain a few times. So we've got Grafana 3, we've got Influx 3, and we've got Ape 3. So those are all saved. Connected them. We are going to ensure it matches our values.yaml file. Grafana 3, Influx 3, Ape 3. Perfect. And then we can see our certificates. What's the status of them right now? False. Everything is not ready. It's only been just over a minute since it got requested, so that could take a little bit of time. So I'm going to use this command right here to just watch that command and see how things are going. Okay, Influx is already ready. So in theory, Orderly Ape is ready. So the third one should follow pretty quickly, but I don't think it's necessary. So we can open up our application. So we just need to go to /admin. So we are at ape3.orderlyape.com/admin. The username is admin for everything, and then the password is whatever you set right here. And since I use the same one, I can just copy it from any of those lines. I'm going to paste that in. Voila! Welcome to Orderly Ape. This is how quick you can get this set up if everything goes very smoothly. What you'll see here, this is some basic just user stuff. The actual Orderly Ape stuff is here. We have test locations. So right now we have local. That's the first test location we have. So right now that's Bangalore. The application that we set up doesn't know that. I could display name Bangalore just so I know. test output, you probably don't need to ever go here unless you're doing something and really know what you're doing. This is just connecting it to our influx database, so it knows where to put stuff, put the results. Test runs, that's where you're going to spend most of your time. So if we want to create our first test, we just click Add a Test Run. Target is passing in an environmental variable called target to whatever script you're running. That's how you let it know where you're going to test. So we're going to just use the K6 test address. You can do any GitHub repo you want right now. So it'll pull the files from there. We'll add support for other private repos, hopefully in your own scripts that are elsewhere later. Right now you have to use a GitHub, a public GitHub reference and repo. So right now we are using the K6 WordPress benchmarks. Those are a bunch of scripts that I use here. They're also in the review signal repository. These are the tests that I use to run my annual WP hosting benchmarks.com tests. So there's a load storm test, there is a static cache test, and a WooCommerce test that we can use. Right now I'm on this Orderly Ape branch because I had to adjust the scripts to work with the Orderly Ape system using these variables so that everything kind of works nicely. So the get reference, it can be a branch tag or commit hash. So instead of main, we're going to use the Orderly Ape branch. I am going to run should we do something fun and do we can't because we're testing the K6. We can do the static cache test. So static cache test.js. I'll do a WooCommerce or something later and show you the results are a little bit more interesting. Location, we only have one test location, so it's running from that. This run each worker on a separate node. If you check that, that's telling it to spin up. That's that auto scale. So yeah, we want to run the tests on their own node so its performance does not impact the performance of anything else in our cluster. For that script to work, we need to know how long we want to run it. We can override the default. So I'm going to say let's do a 5-minute test, and we can override the default how many users it's going to go to. Let's go to 500 users over 5 minutes. So if I hit save, I've created my first test. It's a draft. It has never been run. If I click on it, you can edit it, change anything you want. Once you hit save and run, you can run it from there, or you can click here and just start a run on that. So we're going to do that. The status is going to go pending. So what's happening is we can go here and look. This is the state diagram. So just immediately, as soon as we click, it's pending. If it's accepting the job, it goes to queued. So it's queued, the job is accepted. So now, right now, it's waiting for the pods to spin up. So when we said create that, one worker per job, it's spinning up that pod. So we can look. I don't need to keep watching this. Everything's ready. We can do watch, not get certificates, get notes. Okay, yeah. So we have 3 nodes right now. Those are the 3 that originally spun up. So when we were looking at that state diagram here, it's waiting for pods. It's waiting for a 4th node to spin up in our cluster, so that the actual K6 test will be run from that node, and then it will send the results to influxdb. Once it does that, it'll initialize, Initializing is really relevant when we go back to the fact that this is potentially distributed and we have tests you could run from multiple locations. So if we add multiple locations, all of them need to sync together and start the tests at the same time. So that's what's going to be happening in the initializing phase if we had many. So it would sync them up. Once everything's ready, it makes sure to coordinate that all the tests start at the same time, all the pods are ready, and it starts running. And you can see here if things fail or cancel, you're going to end up with completed, failed, or canceled. So where are we at? We're still at queued. Okay. All right. So you can see the fourth pod here is spun up. It's not ready yet, but that's our cluster doing what it should do, is creating it automatically. Okay, now it's ready. So it's still queued. So it's ready, but it's probably still needs to install our application. It doesn't install the full cluster that we're using here with everything. There's a very small application that installs. It's our Orderly Ape K6 operator that manages running the tests there. So once that's ready, which is hopefully very soon, that's still queued, still queued, still queued. Once it initializes and starts, you can actually see the results at the summary link. So if we click that, it's going to load up Grafana. Grafana is the same. It's the username is admin and the password is whatever you set for your Grafana instance here in the values YAML. So we paste that in, we log into our Grafana, and we can see our very pretty Orderly Ape dashboard, which I'm very happy about. There's no data yet because there's nothing happening yet. So hopefully that'll, initializing. So we're about to kick off. How long does that take? It probably still is going to try and sync, realize it's only one, and then kick off. There we go, running. So it's on auto refresh every 10 seconds. I'm going to just make that 5, and hopefully data is going to start popping in real soon. Here we go. So we said, I think it was a 5-minute test. Is that what I put? Scaling to 500 users. So you can see the blue is the requests per second. The active V users currently at 48 from looking at that's the most recent. The average response time. We can see every request is just going here. On more complicated tests, this is going to get far more interesting, more data. But this is the very simple test just to show you how to set up, install, and get Orderly Ape running. And yeah, you can see we're currently running our load test there, and you can see all the results. If you start running it and come back and click this later, it's not going to be auto-updating. It's just going to put the results right here, and you'll be able to look and slice and dice and do whatever you want, as much as you want. But since we're actively running, we can actually watch it happen, quote-unquote, live. And there's a couple cool little features that I'd just like to show off. Since we're distributed and you can do multi-locations, we have these filters up here which let you filter everything here by the filters you set here. So if you want to see how just Bangalore, which is our local, you can see that. Obviously nothing changes when we have just one, but if we have different scenarios like we do in our WooCommerce one, we could just click a scenario and all the data adjusts to show just that scenario. If we're using groups, the same. So yeah, that's a really cool feature that I just like to show off. And I think that's about it for this how to set up Orderly Ape video. Thank you for watching. Please give Orderly Ape a try, and let us know if you have any issues, feedback, requests, and we are looking for more sponsors to help make this project better. We're looking for people who are interested in using it, contributing to it, making this an amazing open source project. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy Orderly Ape.